Hey guys, I know that we took a long break. It's been almost a year since we published the last two episodes. However, I recently got some comments and some messages from our listeners. And one in particular, actually, he really wanted to know if the show is canceled or stopped, or can we continue to move forward with it. And he's really looking forward to hearing more guests and have the show continue. And that really instilled a lot of energy in me. Also really invigorated my desire to continue the show. So we're gonna relaunch the show. And we're gonna continue where we left off with this episode, which is an interview we did with the one and only Ivan Mikolji. He is this amazing wildlife photographer, explorer. He's an artist. Like, he is a man with many talents, but he's probably most known for his YouTube channel, which he explored the Amazon, especially in Venezuela, in all the fish natural habitat, and he records all this amazing footage. So without any further reintroductions, let's get the show started. Oh yeah, and we also recorded the entire interview. So if you're interested in seeing the video, then you can head to my YouTube channel. I'll include the link in the show notes. And it's really cool because we take a lot of time and energy to make the edits and include images that's, referencing what we're talking about. So it's entirely a different experience. However, it is a long video. So if you have time to sit through and watch it, then trust me, it's a much better experience. So try it. Welcome to the second episode of the Aqua Naturalists, guys. Today we have our co-host Casey Boyle right here, and then with me, myself, Mark Chen, aka TMK Aquarius. We have a very special guest today, and I'm excited to talk to him. And I've been wanting to talk to him for a long time. I've been wanting to bring him on the show for a long time, and finally we made it happen. I guess the best way to introduce him would be he is an explorer. He is a conservationist. He is an artist. He is a photographer. He is many things, and he is the one and only Ivan Mikolji. We welcome you.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
How was that for introduction? Was it?
No, it's a great introduction. Yeah, I have to hire you next time I do something.
All right,
so you can introduce him.
I was trying to be like the ring announcer for boxing match or something.
You did a great job. You nailed it.
Thank you. So yeah, Ivan, can you basically like elaborate on, like, in the introduction, like in the many aspect of your career? And I mean, like, obviously we're all here to hear about, fish and the Amazon and everything, but yeah, just like touch on, all the aspects a little bit.
Well, the roots, let's say like this, is just a great love for water, right? So I'm the kind of person that goes, for example, to the airport from my house, and I know where all the streams are. And I've been using Panama City as the airport as a hub. So from the hotel in Panama to the airport, back and fro, I know all the rivers, because I'm stuck, to the window of the bus and I'm looking, everywhere for a river. That's the nature of what I do. So since I was a kid, this is, my parents drove me to school, and I knew where all the rivers went. And every time I knew when one was coming, I would look out the window. I'd open the window, and see if there was more water today or not. And I always wanted to get out and explore them, which didn't happen for a long time as a kid. Because if you don't have parents which are really outdoorsy and things like that, if you have city folks as parents, it's really, as a kid, it's hard to get out. But I managed to do some in the, when I had a bike, so I'd go to the rivers, but that's about it. And once I was able to start exploring later on, my trips revolved around water, where the rivers, etc. instead of my people would go to vacation, I don't know, to the city or somewhere, and I'd go to a river, you know,
So
and
this is
drive hours.
you grew up in the States or Venezuela?
No,
So
I grew
like
up in Venezuela.
okay.
I grew up in Venezuela, and my parents were not from here. My father was Croatian, and my mom from Nicaragua, and they met here. And I went to
Okay.
an international school in English, so uh, I was like a red parrot cichlid. You know, I'm like, what? You know, Venezuelan not or whatever, Croatian, Nicaraguan. So, but I definitely I've been now for 15 years full time because I've been exploring the rivers since I was a kid, but full time as a river explorer, let's say, now for 15 years.
Wow,
Your
that's
parents created
crazy.
a
Yeah.
monster in the best way. Like you couldn't get to the river, and now you're there. You're just always there.
How did it even become like by full time? What do you mean full time? Like full time as like a career? Like that's how you are making a living, or like just like you know like you just have loads of money and then you just do it like every day.
Well, no, no, it's well, it's not what I live from, right? Of, but that's what I do every day, all the time, practically. And I live off something different, real estate and stuff. But basically, what I do is I'm either writing right now a book. Right now, I'm writing 2 books, and people call me up because they need a picture for an article. So I send them that. I write articles. I just wrote an article for PFK magazine.
Hmm.
So that's what I do. I give presentations. We're going to have the ACA,
Yeah.
you know, so I'm working on that presentation every day. Then I write it in the book. That's what I do all day long. So and I also go out on expeditions, right, to photograph and video the
Yeah.
fish. So it's full time. It's a full time job. There's the rest of my day looks like taking, you know, care of the family or doing house things, you know, like regular
Right. I wouldn't
mortal.
even call it a job, really. I mean, like it just sounds so fun.
Yeah,
Uh,
no, it is. It's super fun. Yeah, totally. But
like
it is
so
there's a lot to it more than, you know,
oh, absolutely. I mean, like
there's
I believe it. I believe it. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
like just first of all, physically getting out there is one thing already. I mean, it could be the biggest thing because I do the same, right? Like whenever I pass any body of water, I'd be like, oh man, like what's in there? Like, you know, I want to go snorkel or like go down to check it. But then, you know, like just even for me as like a big of you know, aquarium hobbyist as I am, I don't I mean like the time that I physically been into the water or whatever, right? I could count with like just one hand. So just you know the endeavor of like actually going and because you I mean like it's not just about okay I see a river and I'm just gonna jump in, right? It's like it takes planning, like you gotta bring gears and it's like a lot there's a lot of things that comes with it. When you just started like as a kid, so you basically ride your bike to the river and then you just kind of like go in and kind of well like with the snorkel like see what's going on.
I used to ride my bike and take buckets, you know, and bring back the rocks or the gravel, you know, as sand
Yeah,
and but here in the city, because I always lived in the city, they're rivers slash sewers because we
uh,
haven't taken care of our rivers that well here.
I see.
Almost nobody has, but here, not really. So it was you couldn't get in and swim in them,
Hmm.
you know.
Right.
You could pick up the guppies from the edge because it's filled with wild guppies and
Sure.
other plecos and cistrus and things like that. And but it's a sewer. I mean, you
Wow.
can't get in
Okay.
there.
I
It
see.
smells, you know. So, but I'd get the sand and the rocks and go home and wash them. You know, that was I could I could do that for hours on end, but I couldn't do my homework.
Hmm.
You know, so
Yeah.
I had that
Sounds
attention
all too familiar.
fixation. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, totally, totally. So the difference was that I first of all I have a very understanding wife, which helps a lot. And second of all, it was just a question of spending the time to do it, because sometimes people get caught up in the day-to-day and they don't go for what they really like to do, or they wind up not doing it for any circumstance. And I was lucky enough to say, no, I put my foot down and said, I'm going to do this. And I did it in a way which I liked it so much that I really did it organized.
Okay.
You know, if so it didn't become like the hobby. It became like something that it's really well put together. So if you say, for example, listen, I need Wavrini, Viatodoma Wavrini images, out of the 450,000 images that are in the hard drives, I can type that in and it'll come up. All the Wavrinis I've photographed.
That's great.
Over 15 years, which in a hard drive with 450,000 images, it's like looking for a person in a city of 450,000 people.
Right.
If I don't type in what the picture is, I practically will never find it again. It will be really difficult for me to find that picture again.
Right.
So you do what my wife says, that when she does something, she says, my future self will thank me. And then she's like, oh my gosh, yes, I set myself up for success right here. So
that's great. Totally. It's done with a vision. It's not just done as a hobby. You know, it was done. I took my time to do it correctly, I guess.
Right.
And that made a difference.
You can tell. I mean,
like anything.
Right. If without that, I don't think, like, without that kind of organization, it would be really hard to put a book together. I mean, right?
Like the rest of my life. Right. Everything else is not like that, you know? Except this.
So I see a fish tank behind you, and I mean, like, it's just a shame that, like, you know, because of hardware you choose, like, listeners, like, or viewers, actually.
It is a black and white.
I have this.
White.
Okay,
I'll be wondering.
I'll explain. No, I bought this. What do you call this? This video cam, right? Because the one that comes with my laptop is not that great, but once I installed it and everything, there's no way of getting it without getting my lips red and my pinks red. So in color, I look like a clown. So I said, okay, and I always forget to buy a new one. Let me write that down. You see that? buy hand. What's it called? Video cam. Yeah. Okay, now it'll get done. So, well, it's a hardware problem. But at the fish tank in the back, it is it's a hot potato. It's a fish that I can never get rid of. And these are the orange line guppies from the Moricha Largo River, which from my house, going 80 or 90 miles an hour will take you 10 hours to get there. So it's really far away. So we're doing DNA analysis on them. We're seeing if they're a new species or where they stand, because they're so isolated. The river is so isolated and they're all the same. They only have an orange line, the males.
I'm looking it up. Orange line guppy.
Right? Yeah, from the Moricha Largo River. So they're small like an endler. We don't even know if they're a micropoecilia. We're doing the DNA and everything, right?
Got it.
But I put them in this aquarium so I wouldn't have to go pick them up if we needed more samples or tissues.
That makes sense. Or
for clearing and staining, you know, for the diaphanizing, for all that scientific stuff that you need the sample. I said, okay, I'll keep it here, so I don't have to go 8 hours again, you know. So, but they've been there for 2.5 years because the studies here for fish are not that quick. They're really slow, and so I can't get rid of them because I can't let them go into nature here because they could be a different species. I can't put it in a different basin, right?
Right.
They only belong to the Moricha Largo River, so I can't let them out. The other thing I could do is kill them, but I don't have the heart to kill them and freeze them, you know. So they've been in there for 2.5 years and I can't get rid of them. I can't put anything in there. I can't put any other guppies or anything because they have to be, you know, they're like scientific samples, you know.
And they're guppies, so they're reproducing, right? No?
I'm, I'm the worst. They've been 2 years and a half there. They've been inbreeding for 2 years and a half,
That's so
and
nice. Yeah.
but they're all the same. They're the same as the same day as I brought them, except that because I have AC here and the temperature is much lower, they develop some sort of black something in their fins, which is a temperature thing in guppies.
Ah,
Okay.
gotcha.
So temperature, when you raise guppies in different temperatures, they sometimes have these different variations. But the orange line is still there and no other color.
Yeah, I just looked it up and it looks great. I mean,
Well, it's, that people believe that guppies are neutral water to pH, a high pH, which is usually in the Poecilia reticulata, where the types were found and near the Tui River, etc. But 90% of the guppies are acid water. Okay, very acid. These live in 4 or less, or 4.4 something. And so most of the guppies live in acid water, because most of the Orinoco River basin is acid water, and the endlers do live in a high pH.
got it.
Because they're sort of brine, coastal salty water, right? The endlers. But these are acid. If you look them up in my book, you'd see it's tannic. It's the lowest pH you can have.
Wow, that's
an easy way to get rid of them is just sell them as an extremely rare fish, like they are.
Here there's no market for it. here in Venezuela, there's no market for it. So they're there, I don't have the heart to kill them.
Gotcha. So as you know, I bought one of your books, and then the images in there are just incredible, right? And then it's not just from that book, but most of your images that I see are absolutely wild. When you are able to take a underwater, photo or footage, it needs to be like a pretty pristine water, or like at least clear water, right? I mean, like, you just can't do it in turbide or like extreme black water. So how often do you come across like these clear body of waters?
It's a good question, because what I did for all these years since I was a kid, or that I started driving, or before, because I was always looking, was doing a mental inventory of where the water was clear. Because if you see a brown river, it doesn't really make you that much want to go in it as if it is clear.
Sure.
If you see a clear river, you immediately want to go see what is in there, compared to a brown river.
Yep.
So I traveled all my life, and I can't remember the the dates of births of anything, but I can remember all the rivers. I have like a photographic memory for that, for the things, selective, remembrance of the things. So for all my life, I've been looking for clear waters. When we used to drive for hours towards anywhere here, or to the Amazon or anywhere, we were going over every bridge. We stick our heads out of the window and we see if it's clear. If it's clear, we stop. If it's not clear, we go. And that's what we did for I don't know, 30 years since I started driving. So we were not looking for fish. We were looking for clear water.
Got it.
Right.
I see.
And if there was something in there, that was the extra. Right. It got more to the point where we did look for fish once we started knowing what we needed. For example, if somebody said, listen, I would love to have an article on leaf fish. And then, we'd see, where does the leaf fish come from? It comes from this area. And then we'd go there and we'd already know, I know where there's clear water here, or I haven't been there. And but usually it was just driving around, for years and years looking for clear waters.
And
Wow. Okay.
the
Is
reason
this
for the
so?
clear water. Oh, sorry.
Hmm?
I was saying is the reason for the clear water. I know you said that that's what got you into this is water. When you're looking for the clear water, was that just to enjoy the river, or like I'm trying to, because you weren't looking for fish, but that's what you do now.
Yeah, I wasn't looking for fish. When we started, when I was, well, I wanted to see what was in there because I was swimming with them. I used to have when I was, probably it started in 86, uh, ninth grade, something like that, eighth, ninth grade. That was one of the first times I put on a mask in 1986, and I went down in the rivers, and from then, um, it was a spring break, and somebody brought me down towards the Arrow River, and this is incredible because it's way down south, and for some reason, somebody at school invited me. They had a farm or a relative. Cool. It's one of those crazy trips where your parents should not even allow you to go, and and I was never allowed to go anywhere, but for some destiny, the stars aligned and they sent me, and it was in the Arrow River, which is, my God, I've only been back to the Arrow River like two times. It's so remote. And they let me go there, and I took my mask because I was always snorkeling in the ocean, and I took my mask there I was 13 or 14, and I was swimming with mesanautas, with rams, with apistogramma. And I was looking at them, and I'd be like, I've seen this in the shop. I think I've had this in my aquarium. And how is it here? Because I didn't even know they existed. And, exactly, because I thought there was only guppies or something, and I was like, oh my God, look, a mesanauta. And I remember actually that I was learning to drive because it was in the farm off-roading, and as I tell, I was 14, and I would drive stick shift, and we went to a stream that had what I remember now like altum, but the water was drying up, and it was so shallow that they were sideways. And I remember saying, God, these are the angelfish that we see in the shop, but they're huge.
How big were they?
And over a foot tall.
Oh my God.
Sideways.
Wow.
And I remember going back, trying to find that specific farm. And I could never get back to that farm and that stream.
Dang.
But they're not supposed to be there. So they're probably something different. And I was thinking they were that. I don't know if they were Severums or something, or who knows. But in my mind, I remember as a kid saying, man, look at these angelfish, and they're huge, because every time you see something like this as a kid, you also go like, kashing, I'm gonna be rich, it's like when you breed your first angelfish or something, and you have that
for like the size, in terms of the size, right? Could it also be that when you were a kid, since you're smaller, like everything looks bigger, so it could be
totally, for sure.
Okay,
for sure. But they shouldn't have been there because the Orinoco it has these natural barriers. So there's a big barrier in the Orinoco, which is the Meta River and the Atures Rapids. They're all in the same area, and that divides what we see as Amazon fish.
Okay.
So from that confluence on, there's no altum, there's no leaf fish, there's no cardinal tetras, no neon tetras. So that rapid and that big confluence of river is where they end. Like that's.
So what's on the other side? Like, what could you name some examples of like the more?
Well, this is the confluence between the Orinoco and the Meta. So they're big. There's two big rivers that meet there, and it's very wide. I guess like a mile or more wide.
Wow. Yeah.
And so, but it's I guess it's really deep. And once it does a curve, that's where the Orinoco, instead of heading north, it goes northeast, right?
Okay.
Northeast. Okay, so in that curve, after that curve where they meet, these two big, the Orinoco and the there's no There's none of those. Most of those Amazon fish disappear. There's none.
And what's on like what kind of fish that are known in the hobby that are on the other side of that confluence?
For example, you below that confluence, you got all the Amazonian fish. You got the leaf fish, you got the altum, you got the neons, the cardinals, etc. Those things that we look like, colorful Amazonian fish. Now, after that confluence, they change more to rams in cichlid wise. Okay, there are almost no rams going south.
Really?
Which is really tricky in the Orinoco because it flows northward. So when you say upriver, it's actually south. It's quite confusing and it's hard to understand until you really done it for a long time, and then you totally understand. But towards the beginning of the Orinoco, there's almost no rams, for example, and there's more on the or corridoras, for example. There's more corridoras. There's more. The fish just change. It's a different. Yeah, it's totally different. So there's but that's very normal. They're in the Guyana Shield because the Orinoco has all that's Western Guyana Shield, and all that area is so old that it has almost no dirt on it. So the waters are just silica sand and granite.
Got it.
It's just there's no dirt, so the water is usually clear in those areas, and those rivers are very sterile too.
Okay.
And the fish are always hungry, and so every river has their fish. For example, the Yarrow River has and the Caroni, they have the Hopleus aymara, that crazy. I think it's one of the craziest, the craziest fish on earth.
Yeah,
it's worse than a white shark, I guess. Those things are crazy.
Yeah,
they just attack for attacking.
Sure.
What's the name of it?
Hopleus aymara.
I gotta look them up.
That's the craziest fish.
Look up wolf
on earth.
fish.
It's a wolf fish, but they grow big. They grow 10, 12 kilos, 10, 8, 10 kilos, 20 pounds.
Oof.
So they're
over a meter, 4 footer, almost a 4 footer, 3 feet, 3 feet and a half. So, but in that confluence, up after that confluence, there aren't any of those aymaras. So it's very strange. Also, the rapids, the Atures Rapids and Maypures Rapids, they're doing now on a scientific research where the freshwater dolphins that are on top of those rapids have become a different subspecies. Because over millions of years, they have not crossed those rapids, which are, 20 kilometers long, 40 kilometers long.
Oh, wow.
So they haven't touched, gotten together in millions of hundreds of thousands of years. And now it's a different subspecies. That's what it seems like. So it doesn't only apply for fish, it applies also for aquatic mammals. Right.
Wow. Interesting.
So, yeah.
And like how is the clear water formed? Because usually, like the very clear water, like the springs, right? Because water comes up from underground, and then all the substrate from the underground basically forms as a filter, natural filter, right? So the water rises up and it's all crystal clear. But like in terms of like the clear body of water that you come across, like they can't all be springs. So it's like some river maybe just have less salt and like I don't know, like what do you think?
Well, down in let's talk by areas, because remember that the rivers are what is in them depends on the geology. So that's why we take so many pictures of the sand and the rocks and everything of every place, because if it's mud, you're gonna get salty water.
Sure.
But as I was telling you, if we talk about let's say the Western Guyana Shield in my book, because there's 2 areas of the Guyana Shield, the Lost World, and then you have the Western Guyana Shield, which is totally different. And let's talk about that, for example, which is probably easier to understand. You got these humongous, in the Western Guiana Shield, you got these humongous Inselbergs.
In what?
Okay. Inselbergs are island mountains. That's what it translates to. Inselberg is island mountain.
Okay.
So there are these humongous outcrops, like the one you see in Australia. There's a famous one that is big and, you know, red in the middle of the desert. You see the pictures of it. It's like this big, humongous rock.
Just going straight up.
Excuse me?
Oh, just going straight up. It's like
it's like a mountain, but it's one rock, one
Right.
massive
Like
rock in Australia.
When I went to Colombia, we went like with Heiko, we went on some of those rocks, and then
exactly. Well, then
like
you
it's
went there.
very bare, right? Like
you've been there,
like starting with vegetation and whatever, but then it's very weird because there's no mountain structure anywhere around, and then all of a sudden, boom! Like there's a big old rock, and it's
a big
like
rock. It's one rock. It's one rock. Right,
and then
it's a humongous rock. It's a mountain, but it's a rock.
One rock. It's almost like a mountain, but it's a rock.
It's a rock. Yeah, it's one boulder, one massive boulder of granite, which is, you know, quartz. So it's you know, feldspar. It's almost glass. Let's say let's put it like that. Yeah. So it's granite. It's not like it dissolves. You know.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't know where you went with Heiko, where you exactly were, but there's places here where, well, that's
so, like bordering Venezuela, yeah,
exactly. So there's not only one of these, like in Australia. This is a network of these Inselbergs. They're humongous, and they're everywhere. There's a lot of them. I don't know if you saw them, how many of them, but on the Venezuelan side and the Colombian side, there's a lot of these things.
Mm-hmm.
So when it rains, it's raining on glass practically. All that water slides down because there's nothing there. There's barely any plants. The plants that grow there are on let's say the potholes.
Sure.
Say that over millions of years, a little pothole has become there, and that's where cacti, etc., and all these endemic plants, because they're all endemic.
Sure.
Right. So they're, for example, the only place in the world where you can find Tabebuia or Inocensis is right there. It's on those Inselbergs. They don't grow anywhere else. But anyway, so that water slides down, and when it reaches the bottom of these Inselbergs, it's all silica sand. If you grab a piece of, you know, you shovel the ground there, it's all just silica sand. There's practically no dirt. And so all this water goes into the ground, and when it comes out as it usually comes out in these morichales, what we call the springs. The morichales are those little springs that are everywhere. They look like oases in the middle of the savannah, because everything is silica sand, you know, like grass. And then you see all these things, all these palm trees, the moriche palm trees. And that's where you got all this clear water coming out, filtering out of this. It's like a humongous filter.
Okay, so there's still basically
silica sand filter. Yeah, it's just rainwater over glass. So you know, there's the pH is extremely low. You know, there's nothing in the water. It's rainwater, reverse osmosis. You know, over glass. Wow. And that's why sometimes it's really sterile, and the fish are always hungry in that area. Now, if you go to the Llanos, then it's really hard to get clear water, because there's the how do you call this, oh geez, got a brain thing. How do you call this, the plant matter? You know, what makes you dirt, etc. The level of the dirt, and there's more like dirt, etc. And so it's really hard to find clear waters in the Llanos. That's why there's, in the book, that's the less places where there's only like 1 or 2 photographs in the Llanos, because there's no clear water.
Got it.
It's non-existent. So that's why. So the part of the Llanos and all those fish of the Llano are coming out in the next book. So they're part of the book, which is not in the wild. They're in the wild, but they're put in an aquarium. to take a picture, because
I see. I see.
you carry your water, and you take them out of the dirty water, and and of the silty water, let's say that the white water, and you put them in an aquarium and you photograph them, right? So
Right. That's cool. Okay, so in like you basically have traveled mostly within Venezuela, or like have you gone to other regions of the Amazon?
well, mostly in Venezuela because I lived here,
Right.
right? And second of all, that gas was free
What do you mean?
here. Well,
What?
gas here was free until probably 3 years ago. So it
Like,
was free. Let's say
really? Wow.
to fill up your tank with 95 octane was a quarter. Let's say a 20 cents, 10 cents. So for many years, it was easy for me. It wasn't an issue to travel. Let's say we do 6,000 kilometers in. We at least drive 200 kilometers a day, which is a tank a day, right? Or 2 tanks a day, or 3. Sometimes we drove 1,000 kilometers a day, but it was practically for free.
Oh,
But
wow.
now it's become to that extent where it's three where it's $1 a liter or more.
Okay.
Sorry, $3 a liter. Three
Yeah,
dollars a
so
liter.
dramatic increase.
So that's $9 a gallon.
Wow. Okay.
So now it's really expensive to go to these very rural areas,
I see.
you
I
know,
see. I see.
compared to before. So I've done a lot of Colombia. I've done Venezuela. I've done Mexico with the sword tails and this, and a lot in the U.S. in Massachusetts. But I don't publish much of that because it's not the life work.
Hmm.
It's not the volume of my work where it's more like they invite me to a trip, I go and take some pictures, and now I have some pictures that I really can't use that much because they're not really great because I just went there once. These pictures I've gone, to take some of these pictures, I've gone to the same river probably 8 times
Hmm.
in different times of the year.
Right.
And for example, we're showing a picture of the Wavrini. Casey
Yeah.
was showing the Biotodoma Wavrini that is in the book. I went to that stream 6 more times, and they weren't that color.
Hmm.
Wow.
Because the 6 more times I went, I never went in the rainy period, at the exact time of the rainy period when they breed.
Hmm. So don't be fooled, Casey. That's a
No.
breeding color.
No, so I got pictures of the same fish in the same place, in the dry period, and you could not tell them apart from the sand. They're all beige, whitish, they're no color to them.
Sure.
This is a week a year. And if you happen to be in that remote area
Wow.
when it hasn't rained that much, where all the silt comes in or whatever,
Right.
you have to have the perfect moment and the perfect time. And that's what the book is. There's only 151 species in that book, but they're the best pictures I've ever taken of the fish
Sure.
that could make it into the book. Because if you put species wise holding them in a bag, I have hundreds of those. But to be at the perfect time at the perfect moment, that magical moment was those 151 species.
It's
Got
got
it.
colors like a discus. It's wild, that photo of it
Oh,
versus what you see in the
yeah.
aquarium. You just like, I mean, I have never seen it in the wild, but in the aquarium, they're kind of bland compared to that. So
You should see the video. The video's on the Freshwater Natural Aquarium documentary
I'll need to.
on YouTube. You go on YouTube and put Freshwater Natural Aquarium documentary, and you'll see the same fish, same blue, in the same river.
Hmm.
Because I take video every time I photograph, I take a video of it too.
Nice. What
So,
what kind of a gear do you use for photographing or like video?
for photographing,
Yeah.
oh, the worst, the worst, the
I would say
worst,
that.
the worst gear. I started. Oh, geez. I don't have it handy here, but I started with the point and shoots. I'd go
Okay.
to Best Buy or the first store, and by myself. It was always around the $500 range. It was the point and shoot that the tourist not the interchangeable. It was the zoom in and zoom
Sure.
out, the point and shoot.
But you like you
And
put like a waterproof housing over it or something, or like use a plastic bag. Don't tell me you use a plastic bag. Oh my god.
I use something called Aquapack,
Okay,
which
that
is a British
sounds
company.
better than a plastic bag, but it's still
Yeah, no,
essentially
no,
a
plastic bag
bag.
didn't work. The plastic bag didn't work.
Okay.
The Ziploc bag didn't work. But the Aquapack, I started using it because I remember the person that got me into this was Oliver Lucanis,
Okay.
and he had the best camera with the best gear. When he came here down here 2 or 3 times that he came,
Yeah.
his gear was like I still don't own such gear, such great gear as he did, but I couldn't afford it.
Mm.
So I was looking what I could buy. I bought my camera, but my camera was so bad that they didn't make a case for it. You know, it was so cheap. You know,
Sure.
nobody would buy a case to put that camera in there.
Sure.
So there wasn't a case for it. So I found on the web something called Aquapack. I still use it till today, which is made out of rubber or some sort of plastic. And I rigged it. I never put up the videos. I took so many videos of how I rigged this thing. I rigged this thing in so many ways, and I videoed it. I videoed how to do it, and I never put it up. I should put those, but they're already so old that probably it doesn't even. But I'd get the point and shoot, and they bring a filter to make it nicer, like for the shadows and whatever the lights, and I'd cut that. I'd put a knife on the kitchen stove, make it hot, and I'd start cutting the plastic that the camera brought.
Oh,
And I'd make it fit into that plastic thing of so it would go up and forward, it would go forward and backwards. It was I'd put styrofoam in it. It was, oh my god. And I still do that today. I still use that today. And I've actually I've only bought one case for a camera. It was for a Canon, but it was a very small point and shoot at the beginning. But after that, I've never bought a case for a camera practically.
Wow, I mean, like, for what it's worth, you can't tell. Like, I mean, I thought you were using like some really great gears to take those photos, because the photographs are amazing. I mean,
the photographs are amazing because the places are amazing.
Hey, that's exactly what Chris said.
You
That's
guys say
exactly
this,
what Chris Lookup said.
it's them they're so humble because listen, I've gone out to the rivers here in Florida and the same places that Chris has gone, and it does not come out the way you guys do it. So you guys are very humble.
You're just not using a cheap enough camera.
Listen,
I need to go cheaper.
Yeah, you gotta downgrade, keep downgrading.
And the only reason I got to the level where I got, it was because I was using Sony, because I discovered Sony. Because I started with Canon, but Canon wouldn't show you the picture before you took it.
Okay.
And I wasn't a photographer, so I'd take the picture and it would come out ugly, and I didn't know what to do. But then I discovered the Sony one, which had the screen was a cheat sheet. Whatever you saw there, that's what you're gonna get. So I never looked through the mirror.
I see. You never used the viewfinder.
Because underwater you can't.
Because you can't, right? Underwater you can't.
I've never used the viewfinder on a camera, practically never. Because Sony it's so easy. So what you saw, oh, okay, this is it, and you shot it. And so I really, it's not that I'm humble. It's really what happened. It's really a question that the gear made it so easy for me to do it, because I never saw a course on photography. I never took a class ever. So I did not know what I was doing at the beginning. And there were many expeditions where you see the picture. I can't publish them. I started taking pictures with one handy cam that had a DVD thing that spun a 5-centimeter DVD that had 2.5 megapixels. Man, those pictures are so horrible. I when I see them, I laugh, because they're 2.5 megapixels, and you can barely tell what it is there,
Right.
But it was a question of endurance,
Yeah.
It was a question of keep on going. and finding the
Absolutely.
correct gear for you, and that's it.
Figuring it out.
I was lucky. I was very lucky.
On these trips, you said it's 30 years, and I was thinking in my head too. You were saying like gas was free, but I can imagine you planning to go somewhere and you stick your head out, you see a river, and you never get to where you originally wanted to go. But have you? I can
ADHD.
imagine you've got some crazy interactions either with animals or police or people. That have you found yourself in some harrowing situations?
Very bad situations, but I tell you something, the coolest one I could say, when I meet some people that are very interesting, I have to try to look back at the interesting things I've done, and sometimes I'm like, wow, I've done way more things than these people, like I remember once we went to a river that is in the Llanos, and I was probably 20 years old, 30 years ago. So it was a very rural area in the middle of nowhere, but rural in the sense, not in the Amazon where you see, indigenous people. This was like, let's say, cowboy country, but very, very rural, to the point where the town that we got to, which exists, was called Cow Dung. How do you say that in English? Is there a word for it? For the
No,
cow?
that's exactly what we call it. We call it cow poop,
Okay.
cow dung.
Cow dung, right?
You wouldn't want a souvenir from there.
Exactly. That's the name of the town, the small town, probably 20 houses, small 20 house town or less. And the next town to it, the next small town, which was even smaller, was called the Horsefly.
Oh man, I don't know which one's
things that bite you. Exactly.
These are translations, though, right?
Cow dung and horsefly. El tábano y el bostero.
Gotcha.
Okay, so we got to this place where we're trying to get to see what it's a very, very interesting river. That river is one of the most interesting ones, but it was so rural that, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie The Three Amigos. Chevy Chase and well, where they go into a bar and it looks like the Wild West, from the 1800s, or the Tarantino movie here, the mariachi or something, and you go into the bar and you see the people that are with their guns, like in back in the day.
Sure. Like the black and white picture.
Yes, exactly, like this, exactly, like exactly. Listen, we were the only car there. The rest of were horses and mules.
Wow.
People had guns, machetes. It was like entering that era, and for some reason they thought we were celebrities, and they didn't want to let us go.
Oh wow.
And we were stuck in that town for almost 3 days, partying with these people.
Dang.
And it was surreal. It was like being in a Tarantino movie, but in real life.
What made them think that you guys were celebrities?
A car, probably.
A car?
The first thing they would say is, these people are from the capital city, which we're not. We were not from the capital city, but they believed that we came from, let's say, New York or Washington, D.C. They believed that we were from from the capital city in Venezuela, and we had to party with them for 3 days. It was a long weekend or something that we went there because it was a long weekend and we could, get out for a couple of days. And we had to party with them because they wouldn't let us go. And wow. I remember, and it was very surreal because it was exactly like that, like a Tarantino movie, like you went to the bar and you shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
And so we've lived some things, that, and so then if we'd go to the river, they'd follow us all drunk in packs, like around us, they would go with us because it would be interesting to see what we were doing in the river. And so it was we just couldn't do it because it was so weird, so we said, okay, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity, let's party. And we partied for 3 days.
Well, but the river going into this rural area, was it like just wrenched? Did they clear out the rainforest and just like start wrenching?
The incredible thing about this river is that if you see Venezuela, the northern part of South America, most of all the rivers drain south.
Okay.
Into the Orinoco. There's a ridge. There's the Caribbean coastal range that divides the north. The Orinoco used to go out, so there's no way of the rivers going north.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a gap between some mountains, and this river in the middle of nowhere heads north. It's like the only river that is in the middle down there near the Orinoco, but it doesn't flow into the Orinoco.
Interesting.
So it drains directly into the ocean, which is 200 and something kilometers away.
Wow.
So you've got all these fish that should be in the coast, and you have them in the middle of the jungle, in the middle of nowhere, and they're coastal fish. So that's what we were investigating. At the end of the stream, they made a dam. So all these fish that were migrating would hit that dam, and if you threw a cast net, you would get, for example, 3,000 Caquetea krausi, for example, cichlids.
Wow.
You'd get 3,000 in a cast net, one throw. You couldn't even pull it out because there were so many. Let's say ghost shrimp, those ghost clear shrimps. If you threw the cast net, you'd lose it because you couldn't pull it out.
Wow.
Yeah.
So there's hundreds of millions of fish in there, and it's in a place where they shouldn't be. They're in the middle of the jungle, and they're coastal fish.
The fish would basically trying to migrate back to the river, but then they couldn't, and they get stuck at the dam, and they just live there
at the end because
they just live there.
They just, I don't know what they do, because at the end they probably dissipate back into the river because there was no way of they couldn't go anywhere else.
Sure.
And naturally they couldn't go anywhere else either, because that river is not very far from the dam where it begins. It's just in the middle of it's just a very awkward, very extremely crazy place. So you'd go in the dam, and it's actually one of the few dams in Venezuela where you could be swimming in the middle of the dam, and there's no piranhas.
Oh wow.
There's no aymaras, the crazy aymara. They're none there. So it's really there's no electric eels. There's nothing that can hurt you. So you can be floating in that dam. There's actually the people go fishing in tire tubes.
Okay.
And they go, which they can't do in other places because it's too dangerous. They're in tire tubes because there's nothing in, it's only coastal fish.
No caiman.
No, it's killifish, rhinoloricarias, some cranicetulas. They put peacock bass in there, but nothing that can hurt you.
Gotcha.
Which is usually can't swim in a dam here in Venezuela that much because you have to be careful with the piranhas.
Really, is that dangerous to swim with within the water?
But you have to be careful, with rays. This has no rays, nothing, because it's just a coastal river, drains directly. So, we've done our share of many things, going up waterfalls and going into caves and etc. We've done a little of
Tell us about that. Tell us about the cave experiences. Like is there like any crazy or species that like we don't hear or see about that's in the cave?
There's many, but I haven't gone in a long time. But the cool expeditions are the ones we did also with institutes. For example, with the Humboldt Institute in Colombia, where we make a book every time we go out. So they bring in, for example, Caño Cristales, the Rainbow River, the River of Seven Colors, and we go there for 8 days, and we did a book of that. It's free on my website.
That's in Colombia, right?
That's in Colombia. Those are where the Orinoco River is born, but in the Colombian in the mountains of the Macarena mountain range.
Okay.
So the Orinoco is very interesting because where it's born, where they say it's born, was sort of more of like a political thing, because the longest tributaries are not probably actually the one where it's born. They probably said, listen, we want to keep it here in Venezuela, it's born here, but the longest tributaries are others that go farther. So those are where the Orinoco River is born, in those mountains of the Macarena. And the latest book we did was the book of Bohonawi, which is the Western Guiana Shield. It's also a free download on my website. Those free downloads are all in Spanish. They're the Spanish version that never got they never got sold as prints.
Gotcha.
You,
Yeah, so like these fish cave environments, what were they like?
Cave environments, we didn't do a good job on them going into them, because we never planned them correctly. Every time we found a cave, we weren't prepared. So we would go in, and one moment we had one flashlight and it broke, and we were in there, and thankfully one person smoked, which
gee.
So with the matches we were able to get out. Luckily, the matches he had in his. So we did our fair share of those things, but nothing great came out of it. There's a person called Carlos Lasso from the Humboldt Institute that is, I think he just made a book about all those cave systems in the Orinoco with all the crayfish that are in there.
Wow.
And I believe it's a free download in the Humboldt Institute too. It's in Spanish. You're going to have to put it on Translate.
Sure, yeah.
But he shows all those new species. Everything is down there is practically new.
Wow.
The crabs, and crustaceans and mollusks.
Sure. The cave sounds very dangerous. And I mean, I know some friends of mine, they do cave diving. Yeah, it's just
that's another
pretty
thing.
insane. I mean, like anyone from like with just the remotest claustrophobia, it's just like.
But we never had a tank. Listen, we never did scuba diving.
Right.
Everything was done apnea. How do you say it? With just
snorkel,
holding your breath. Yeah, snorkeling. Free diving, because there was no way. We spent so many hours, 8 to 10 hours a day in the rivers for 15 days. How many tanks would you need for 3 or 2 people, or how can you get them across the jungle or top of that waterfall?
Sure, yeah.
There's no way. And actually, my aquapack only went up to 5 meters. After that, you could see the water going in. So I always put a sponge in it.
So wait, you actually free dive like below 5 meters? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, 5 meters. But then see the water you see the humidity. Everything starts in the bag, starts sticking, and you see the water. So I always have like a sponge in it.
Sponge is so smart. That's smart. But it's like the cheap way. It's like you figured out all this stuff just having to be cheap.
The frugal.
Yeah.
I didn't have the money.
You bring obviously, like when you go down that deep, you have to have your light, right? Like you carry lighting with you, right? Because I mean,
well, it depends. It depends how tannic the water is, because sometimes at 2 meters you can't see anything.
Sure.
But if it's crystal clear in the flooded savannas at 5 meters, you're doing great.
Oh, really? Just I mean, like in daylight,
and you don't lose the colors.
Yeah,
Mark, like you see in the ocean that everything turns blue.
Yeah.
after 3 meters, everything is blue, or 4 meters. Here, you're at 5 meters. It's the same. It's perfect.
Wow.
So
what type of fish like that you usually find like in the deeper region of the water? Bigger fish, right? I mean, I'm assuming
rays.
Okay.
You find rays, and you find just passerby fish.
Like,
For example, the peacock bass,
yeah,
the larger peacock bass,
like the
they're
Temensis and stuff.
yeah, the Temensis, the Orinocensis, they're down there. They're
Mm.
looking up to see the fish that are feeding from the, if a bee falls in the water and all these little, the minnows go and get it, the tetras, then they strike from below.
Mm.
So all those big fish are down there. But what is interesting also is that the waterscapes down there change because that's where all the tree trunks are. And all those
Oh,
large, every
wow.
time the things that get dragged in by the, seasonal floods, etc., all those big tree, moricha palm tree trunks and
Wow.
fallen trees.
Yeah.
And then you got those branches. Oh man, I should show you pictures. That's gonna go in the book. But anyway, it's all these branches that are covered in those protozoans.
Send that picture to me later. I'll add it into the video. So
Yeah, it's full of it's just my camera. This is the thing. My camera doesn't make, because I don't have that dome.
like the fisheye.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
fisheye dome. So you don't see the full extent of
Right.
the trees, but the pictures I have, it's those trees underwater in that deep area, and they have all these protozoans on them, so they look like hair, like rotting hair. Oh man, going down there sometimes is like you enter another planet.
Wow.
Because then you're really looking around like, okay, what is going to come out of here? A humongous electric eel or something. You start getting nervous, and then what you do is you lie there motionlessly. You just lie there and you start seeing things that move, and then you notice the rays. You notice the electric eel, etc. And then you go up for air. Usually I jump out for air towards the edge of the river because I have so much weight. I have no fins, so I have to jump out like
Oh yeah, you got like a belt on or something?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's a 12 kilo, 24 pound.
I was gonna ask how you stay down there. You said you laid down. I
24,
was like, it's
24,
hard to
24
lay
pounds.
down. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
24 pounds of belt of lead. So you have to sort of skip. You look like you're skipping, like Neil Armstrong on the moon.
You gotta look like a nice snack for a predator when you come out of the water.
But that the coolest thing, I totally, when you're in you see these pools, right? The pozos, and it looks really deep in the bottom, but it's clear, so you can see there's tree trunks down there, and you say, "Boy, that thing is deep," and you grab your camera and you slide yourself down the edge of the water, the riverbank, and you go down into the water and you walk like you're in the moon, and you get to these tree trunks and you can hold your breath for 45 seconds, a minute, and you take the picture. You hyperventilate before you get in, right?
Sure.
You hyperventilate there so you can last at least a minute, and you come out on the other side a minute later, and I always feel so proud of myself, like, wow, I made it to the other side. I took the images. I was in another planet for a minute, and you're there by yourself in the middle of nowhere. And it's just the feeling of being one with nature is so cool.
Yeah, for sure. Wow.
You feel proud of yourself that you'd be able to do that. You're living it there, and you were able to actually not just sit on the riverbank like everybody and look down. You could actually lie down there and take the picture, of all these things, and then you hyperventilate again, and you come back on the other side of the river. And once you start doing that, and you could do it very easily, you start smiling because you feel good, because you're doing it. You're in the flow. You're good at it. You find that something, at last, I found something that I do that I'm good at. Because I never knew what I was good at ever in my life.
That's
he
awesome.
Talks about hyperventilating. That's like for most people out there that aren't as experienced, that can give you like a shallow water blackout. Like the people do that because it does extend it. But if you're good at it, you can do it. I was trained for holding my breath, and my wife there's a tunnel. I put it on my Instagram before, but there's a tunnel I swam through that probably goes down to like 20 feet. You reach it at like 10 feet and go through it. and you can see it from above just barely, but when you go down below, it's so blue and clear, it's just muddy above, right? So you go through this whole tunnel straight down and come back out. But like you're saying, it's kind of like a, I don't know how to explain it. It's almost like you get like a lightheadedness, like a euphoria, like a rebirth or whatever. Like it finally, like it's almost like some way of, it's almost like when people go on a vacation and they come back like, oh, I needed that. It's like a comeback. I've been holding my breath so long. I come back up and I'm like,
You're
oh,
refreshed.
I feel like, yeah, I did something. I did something today. It feels amazing.
So it
I
is
was
something.
nervous about. I
It
was
is.
nervous
It
about
is.
it.
So it is probably a mental thing. You know,
Yeah.
that feeling is probably something from that hyperventilating, because you
Yeah.
really feel great, like you did something like
Yeah. You
nobody else
accomplished
did.
it. Well, you're also, it's nerve wracking. Like I'd say too, when you're going down there, there is an added, like, I don't have a lot of fears or anything like that. I don't have a fear of diving, but when I go down, for me, cold water starts to hit you and you're also losing your breath. And it almost feels like, I don't know how to explain it. Like you're putting yourself in a bad situation as you're going down. It kind of gives you an eerie feeling because it's ice chilling sometimes. And as you're coming back up, it starts feeling better too.
Yeah, the water temperature changes. Exactly.
So,
Wow.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. The light, everything.
yeah.
It's an incredible feeling, and it's just the places are magical. You know. But
I want like really want to see some pictures of the tree trunk on the bottom. You know, that sounds to me is like just amazing. Like I've seen pictures of people diving in the cenotes and then right and then there's like a lot of trees, even trees, actually living trees, right? Like the roots like reach all the way
yeah,
down,
yeah,
right?
exactly,
Into the
exactly,
river, and
exactly.
then I mean like the water. So it's like all of a sudden like you see like these underwater trees. That's like pretty cool. Is that pretty
Totally.
much similar to that?
Pretty much similar to that, and
Gotcha.
it all depends what is on the sides, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
where you are. If you're in the middle of the savannas where there's no trees, then you just have a barren,
Yeah.
sandy area, usually filled with rays
Mm.
and piranhas, large piranhas too. But
Wait, like
that
so swimming with the piranhas, is it as scary as people think?
uh
Is it
depends.
like a
It's
sketchy thing to
it's
do?
all
Like you
relative.
stay away from
No,
it
no,
or
listen. You don't want to, don't try this at home.
yeah.
But anyways, we don't get in the water where the water is white water, silty
Mm-hmm.
water
Mm-hmm.
with piranhas.
Mm.
I mean, there's places here where you see the water silty and it's filled with piranhas. You don't go in there because you're gonna get bit.
Oh wow.
You
Like
are,
so
you are,
okay,
you are. That's
wow.
You'd have to be wearing jeans and shoes and tie your pants to the boots or whatever, and you'd probably go in. But if you start swimming in there and moving your arms really hard here in the Cojedes River, you'll get eaten.
Yeah, because like the water is turbid, so they can't see, and they
They
just
can't
sense
see you.
movement, and they just go
Exactly.
in. Gotcha.
But
Like,
if you go
But
into
like,
the fish guys, in our fish guys videos that I did with George Fear, and you see how we feed the piranhas underwater and how we buy the meat and how we throw the chicken in there and everything, it's clear water. They don't see us as prey. So
mm-hmm.
that's when we get there and we're with our underwear. We're even in our underwear,
Mm.
and we're standing there in our underwear, and we're there's and I learned a long time ago by accident how to call them.
What do you mean? How to call them? Like you're the
Yeah, but
piranha
by
whisperer?
accident. All my things are usually by accident. You know, but there's a way to call piranhas. So if you see in the fish guys, you'll notice how we call them for the piranhas to come. So and to start a feeding frenzy, you know. So what we do is, what I did was I was once by myself in the flooded savannas and filled with piranhas. I was by myself and I had my car keys on me. And I didn't know what to do with the car keys because I didn't want my car to be stolen. So I grabbed the car keys and I put a clip on them and on my the case of my camera on the Aquapack. So once I was photographing and I had my keys got tangled in a branch, I moved them to let them loose, and all these piranhas started coming.
Mm.
So I
It's
wiggled
like
them
because
again.
the
I
shiny
wiggled
metallic.
the sound.
Oh, the clink.
It's the sound that
Oh
sounds
wow.
like teeth biting.
Oh,
Triggering them like a feeding
interesting.
frenzy.
Yeah, it's like a feeding frenzy. Oh my God.
Interesting.
I was by myself, in this, and hundreds of these piranhas started coming out of everywhere, and the large ones,
Oh my
And I'm
god.
like, oh my God, I hit jackpot. I learned how to do it. This is how, because the flooded
Wait,
savannas
wait.
are
In your mind, you
miles.
didn't like at the moment. You didn't think, okay, I'm gonna be like in trouble
No,
because
I'm like, oh my God, I'm like,
They're coming right
again,
here.
again, I'm rich,
Yeah.
again, you know, this is the romanticism in my romantic way of viewing the aquarium hobby.
hmm
Every time I think, I hit jackpot, and it's a very romantic way to see things. I nailed it. I'm like, oh my God, I discovered something. I'm good for something. At last, I know what I'm good at.
Wow,
So,
that's
but by
cool.
coincidence, it was just I didn't know what to do with my keys. And so from now then, when we set up everything, like we find a place where the picture is going to be nice, and you start shaking the keys really hard. You bring a lot of keys, and oh my God, those flooded savannas that are miles long. The piranhas just start coming by the thousands from everywhere. So that's how we called them, and you can see them in the video. I don't remember which the fish guys. I don't know if it's the Expedition 1 or Expedition 2. I'm not, but you can see how we do all of that, and how we buy the meat, and how we get in there, and how we call them. And
Wow.
so it's if there's clear water, the piranhas normally don't attack you. And we're swimming with 5 or 6 species there. There's Phagocentrus cariba, there's Cerosalmus rhombeus, Medinae, Catoprions, Mentos. There's at least 6 or 7 species there, and they don't bite you.
Got it. Wow, that's cool.
Irritants, large irritants too. Cerosalmus irritants.
Have you ever
But
like
you see how cool? Look how cool! I when I started, I didn't even know one scientific name. Now my brain is saturated with scientific names.
for sure, for sure. Have you ever like run into any, tense moments or like, just scary moments with the electric eel or rays?
Yes, a lot. Yes, a lot of them, but not
Oh, really?
actually not a lot. Not as much as with people. I'm more scared of people than finding people than finding animals.
Let's talk. Let's share some stories on both, like both the fish and the people.
Now you say it too. You're going to some remote areas. Have you found like
We've gotten mugged, so
Okay, yeah.
and so it's not nice stories to tell, because there's you travel a lot, it's
Sure.
it's thousands of miles, and you never know what you're gonna find.
Right, right.
You find a Tarantino movie place,
like at that
What
point
about the fish encounters?
you wind up in a
Electric-
Tarantino movie.
those aren't good.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah, what about the electric eel encounters?
well, electric eels, they're usually very curious. So when they see you and they're large enough to, when they I think animals know when they can be they're untouchable,
Right.
Yeah.
And I think sort of an electric eel, once it's like 1.5 meters long or more, it really doesn't care about anything anymore. It doesn't need to be shy. So it sees you, and it just goes towards you. That's what they do.
It's the honey badger of the rivers.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. So if you're swimming, we've been swimming in places where they drag you out of the river. You have to try to get out faster than they can come and curiously look at you. And you have to run out, and
Wow.
but one of the funniest ones was when I was videoing Wild Aquarium 2. If you go on YouTube and you put Wild Aquarium 2, we were I think it's Wild Aquarium 2 or 3. 2, I think it is. And there's this Micrurus naturae, Helicops angulatus snakes that there's something called we call it the green tunnel. And every time we pass through that green tunnel, we got attacked by these snakes. There's like 4 or 5 snakes that were there in this creek, and they always attacked us. It was like, oh my God, we have to go again through the green tunnel and we're going to get attacked by these snakes, you know? So I was videoing the cardinal tetras, and in this part of the green, but I was keeping away from the green tunnel. I was like, okay, I'm not going to enter the green tunnel, so I'm going to keep like 6 feet or 8 feet away, because I had to finish videoing. And all of a sudden, I'm videoing the thing, and this big snake comes in front of the camera and just stands there looking at me like it's going to bite me underwater. So I'm videoing that, and when I'm videoing that, there's the male is coming up my legs.
Oh my God.
So I turn my camera to look at it, and the one in the bottom starts shooting at me. How do you say that? It starts attacking. How do you say that? Striking, right? It starts striking me. So, and I have the other one here, so I flip out. I flip out, and instead of running the opposite way, I went into the green tunnel.
Oh, no.
Once I noticed I was in the green tunnel, I started running even faster. But the camera was on. So if you look at it, if you see the footage, you see the snake. It's all on YouTube. You see the snake coming in, then you see the snake out here, and then you see me running for it. And it's like I'm walking on water, like the Three Stooges. You know, like if you see, I'm running, man. I'm going 90 miles an hour in that water. You know, and it just chases you out. They chase you out.
Whoa.
And once you're under its remote areas, you don't want to be bit by anything.
No,
because it's
absolutely
so far away from anything.
No one's coming.
Wow.
So that's but most of the time it's not like that. With animals it's different, because with animals, if you get to see it, and if you really respect them and don't touch them, you're really not going to get hurt. You know, you'd have to be messing with them, which is why I don't get hired by National Geographic. And you know, remember the crocodile hunter that used to grab all the stuff and put the snakes on his head?
Yeah.
You know, I'm not that type of person. So, you know, I don't get hired by them, because I respect them and I don't touch them. So much of the thing, nothing happens to me. Most, you know, I've gotten bit a couple of times, but it was because I was handling them.
Yeah.
If I wasn't handling, I would have never had any accidents.
So that was like a rare occurrence that the snake just kind of proactively came at you.
Well, no, that's a place. That's the green tunnel. If you go there right now, if you pass, they'll attack you. It's been for years.
It's just like a territorial thing.
Yeah, but it's I don't know why there's so many in that spot, because there's I don't know, like 6 pairs, I guess, or something. It's the breeding ground, or the you know, like their home.
I see.
And every time we went through there, I think Oliver too got chased out of there. I don't remember well, but yeah, it's a thing, and it's for 30 years we've been going there, and they're always there.
Oh,
generation after generation, just
it's
just don't go through there. The same rays, big large rays go towards you, but just curiously, they're not going to sting you, but you get out of the water because you don't know what can happen.
Powerful too,
right? And you're in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah,
you know, it's like you're by yourself. What are you gonna do?
Wow.
You know, how are you gonna walk back in the car and start, you know, stick shifting with
one leg,
one arm, one leg and one arm.
Wow.
Exactly. So,
do you have a favorite spot that you've been to?
The favorite spot depends for what.
Yeah, I know.
But for underwater landscapes, it's the Lost World. The Lost World has not a lot of fish species in them, and the waters are too how do you call this? That they don't hold much life. They're sterile.
Oh, gosh.
They're very sterile. So there's not many. The amount of quantity of fish are not large, but the underwater scenery is just breathtaking. the rock formations that go from pink, some are sort of greenish blue. So you got it's just the underwater waterscapes, I guess.
Yeah.
It's just mesmerizing. The plants, it's all in the yeah. I'll send you some pictures, but it's just for underwater landscapes. It would be the Lost World, and everywhere there's clear water, and if it's not clear water, it's highly extremely tannin water. That comes to a point where it's almost black.
Sure.
And it not only also black, it's darker than the Yatabapo, but it also has the saponines. How do you say that in English? Saponinas.
Like
In
tree
English, it would
saps?
be the tree. There's a couple of trees that throw like soap.
Oh, okay.
They're
Yeah,
the
like the
soap
one that you
trees.
can use for like shampoo or something, right? That
Like
one?
yes,
Yeah.
yes. So the water is just black, filled with bubbles.
Right. Oh, so the bubble is
Just
from the trees.
the bubbles
Ah,
is from the
I see.
saponine from the trees. It's
I
just a part
see.
of the tannins, part of the
Got it. Got it.
it's so it's extremely, there's nothing you can drink that water, there's it's totally so just watching all these bubbles, it looks like a washing machine that went, that without the
When
cover on,
Gotcha. Because when I went to Colombia and then like we went to a Blackwater waterfall and then underneath the waterfall it's just like foam. Along the bank is just foam, right? Like huge
Yes.
foams. And then I was like wondering like why is there so much foam there? And then I thought it would be like just the organics in the water, but then yeah, like the tree, yeah, those shampoo trees, yeah, that makes total
Yeah,
sense.
it's the saponine. But the cool thing is once it mixes with these waterfalls and the water and the wind, it becomes like a protein skimmer.
Right. Okay,
Have, have
cool. Yeah.
have you seen them? Have you seen these? They wind up at the edge of the river and they're all brown
Yeah. It's like
so it is.
they're dirty. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a protein skimmer,
Right,
but from
right.
the Amazon.
That's cool.
So all these things, that you see there is just remarkable how little we know about, where the fish come from.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
Absolutely, right?
Yeah, that's awesome. So, like, but you've drank the black water, right? Like you've drank straight out of the river. Have you?
Yes.
Have you ever? You're right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We always, because you half of it in the snorkel you swallowed as well. After 3 days, you probably drank, half the
But
pond
that
water.
water is so, like, it tastes so good. I've never tasted any water that's as good as the black water in the Amazon. Because on the first day of the expedition, like, Heiko was like, "Oh, you can drink this all day long." We're like, no way, right? But at the end, we ran out of like bottled fresh water, and then every time like we drink, we have to boil. So I got so sick of it. I'm like, you know what? This guy's been drinking this for like 70 years.
And he's alive. Yeah, he's
and
better
he's
than all of us.
fine. And he's stronger than I was. So I
stronger
was
than
like,
all of us together. Yes.
like I'll just try it. Like, and then I drank it. Like it was, yeah, it was the best tasting water I've ever tasted. Like even that's including, like cold mountain snow melt, right? Right. And it even beats that. And then
No grittiness to
once
it.
I came back, was that?
There's no like grittiness to it.
No, like it's sweet actually. It's
It's
well, I mean, like it's not like sweet, but
Yeah.
it's the water like taste is so pure with the like it just tasted good. Like
I've
kinda
always wanted to bottle it
right.
and
Yeah,
sell
like
it
I
like
actually
really
bottled
high
it and then
end,
I just keep on
really
drinking
high
it.
end water,
Rich.
because it's so,
Yeah,
from,
and then when I came back,
Angel Falls, whatever, like water.
right. When I came back to the States, I was like, all right, I have to go do a physical, right? Like I want to see like if
Yeah.
I got any parasites in me. Like, no, nothing. Like
Well,
it was fine.
that's what's wild. That
The
you
only
said.
downside to that water is showering, because the soap won't go off. Like if you put shampoo on or soap,
Oh, it's so soft.
you won't be able to take it off.
Right,
You're there, you know, for hours trying to take the soap off, and you can't.
And what blows my mind is that you guys do you're talking about doing that, but like here, like I know every place is different, but like here in Florida, once a year at least, with the really warm waters that are sitting there, someone gets a brain-eating amoeba from
Ooh, oh,
they
really?
talk about it like from just like like a kid. They'll go swimming, they come home, they have like a little bit of a fever, they might throw up, and then they just either have to get sent to the hospital or they just don't wake up alive, basically. And it's wild. Like and so that's what
Holy
That's in
crap.
the
I don't mean it.
Everglades?
I don't mean it to startle that because I don't know if that's the case. I have no idea what causes it, but here in Florida, they have that awareness once a year in the summer, like, hey,
Oof.
be careful about ingesting the warm, still water. But
Oh,
we're
Yeah,
also
they have
don't
the
have,
algae.
yeah,
They
we
have
don't
the
have these
algae.
flowing
So
rivers. It's where these people are at. They're jumping into a lake or a pond. But it just blows my mind that that you like doing that because I'm seeing I've been in the Amazon River. I swam with some of the people there, and I was more afraid of piranhas and that kind of stuff, and didn't even think about the water. Or also, I was afraid of that fish that supposedly swims up.
that does, you know, that it exists, but that doesn't. It's never
It's like
happened.
it's a theory. Yeah,
It's a
yeah,
myth.
exactly.
It's a
That's what
myth.
they're telling me. I'm like, there's no
It's
fish. There's
totally a
not
myth.
the penis fish thing. It's not in here, right? And they're like,
The
no,
penis
you're
fish.
fine. Actually, I think they said yes.
That's a
Get
myth,
out, get
totally.
out. But they're joking.
Like a tourist, you know, they're asking the
Yeah,
tourist thing.
exactly.
Listen, Casey, what part of Florida are you in?
I'm in the Tampa Bay area,
Oh,
like the
okay.
little. Yeah, I didn't know if you knew, like the little inlet area.
Okay. Listen, you know that many years ago, I was in Florida. I had to be there for a month, and I called George Fear down and I said, "Let's do something." So we got together with the people from the Golden Coast Aquarium uh, uh, Club.
Yeah.
Um, Chuck Davis. I don't know if you've heard of him, Chuck Davis. And we went out fishing, and we went collecting. And I wanted to start a geolocation thing to know where each fish was, because they had, for example, listen, here in this little creek, in this little pond, it has the African jewel cichlids. That one over there has, you know, this, and that one over there has that you know, the Mozambique tilapia, and that one over there. So each, you know, each one of these little ponds had a location, you know, like what they knew where everything was. You know, if you, I don't think it was cardinal tetras, but there was a lot of these, you know, African cichlids and stuff. So we started collecting, and we got to the Everglades, and we did some heavy collecting there. And we were putting them in formaldehyde and ethanol for the DNA sampling and all of this. And we saw these people that came out from a dock, were Holiday Park or something. And these guys came out in this nice fishing boat. And we said, listen, do you have any Oscars so we can photograph them? And they said, yeah, we have Oscars. And they had a whole cooler full of Oscars. And they also said, listen, do you want to photograph this too? And they opened another cooler, and it was full of Mayan cichlids.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So I said, oh, that's pretty cool that you guys have been separating the species. You know the difference between either one? And they said, no, the difference is that here we only caught this.
Wow.
Yesterday, we only caught that one 3 miles up. So in the Everglades, there's spots where they don't mix.
That's why
They only caught with the same bait, the same thing. They only caught Mayan cichlids one day, and the next day it was only Oscars in a different location.
Wow.
In the same Everglade, not much difference of a place. So how did that happen?
Yeah, so the fish are basically just staying in their within their species, right? And then they're forming like a little community, like in LA, because LA there's like pockets, right? There's like the Chinatown, there's like
you could totally have Maya town.
So there we go.
Well,
fish have that too. So like fish are racist.
Totally.
for sure. Yeah. They
But I found that the most interesting thing I've ever seen. I even thought it was more interesting than the things I've seen in the Amazon, because I've never when I go into a pond or a big body of water, it's not like you see the fish on this side, on this,
Yeah, yeah,
it's
like
it's
gangs.
it's exactly, totally Chinatown, totally.
They
But yeah, like I mean, that's so interesting because I guess when the fish are from such, like they live in natively live in such vast different like distance, right, apart, then they don't have that kind of I guess common language, so to speak, right, to be able to communicate with each other maybe, and then they just
So the ones in the Orinoco, they all speak Spanish, and the ones over there, they
it's like Chinatown again.
that's hilarious.
No,
it is.
what people don't realize too is that the Lake Okeechobee, I mean people realize this, but some people don't know that Lake Okeechobee flows, I guess, underground into the Everglades. And so it's one of those wonders of the world. But I had thought about it's unfortunate, like I can go right down the street and see common plecos in the water and the rivers around. And but if I did think about, I want to build like a pretty big pond, like an above ground pond in my backyard. And I thought about going to the Everglades to get the South American cichlids, like collect them wild, get the ones that I want to keep them. They're invasive anyways, and I don't have to hurt them. I don't have the heart to kill them, but I can take them out. Look at that.
Sorry, I have my puppy with me today.
The
So
guest, the
yeah,
guest puppy.
he's been messing about and creating all kinds of noise.
He's the
He
cutest
wants
little
attention.
Yeah. Say hi.
Yeah, well, those Everglades, we found a lot of native species, but there was a lot of things that shouldn't be in there, and we collected them all. And it was really nice to spend the time and see how they know, the people from the aquarium people, water people, know what things are in those ponds better than anybody else.
Yeah.
Better even than probably the park rangers that take care of these places, because they know the species,
What they're supposed to know. Yeah, they might not know the invasive ones.
Exactly. Yeah, it's interesting to go out with them, with the fish guys, see, collecting all these things.
Around here too, there's beautiful fish, and my wife will be like, "That's like, what is that?" And I'm like, "That's invasive. It'll be like a African like tilapia species or whatever that we've got." And like there's a part over here where everyone goes and hangs out. It's called Armature Works. It's like a restaurant called Eulalie, and they have this beautiful kind of like they kind of cut the stream off a little bit. That they're not damming it up. It's continuously flowing, but the lake keeps a bunch of fish into it, this little pond area. And it's all tilapia that are not from here, but it's just everyone would think that they're from there, kind of opens up right to
yeah.
And getting rid of them is almost impossible. So
they're
they're part of the now from the ecosystem.
Yeah, they'll become their own subspecies, I guess.
I guess someday everything is going to be cosmopolitan. Everything is going to be the same. It's going to even out.
I mean, that's actually what the my argument was in anthropology in my university. They were talking about like there was a division of anthropologists back in the day, and like, is race real? Like, is race for humans real? And I said, you can see, because you can see characteristics in bones, right? And our bones and everything, like just on a skeleton itself. But I said, you can make that argument that people are different because of the environmental impact on their body, but when enough people have mixed across the world, you're going to have to change your idea of race as well, because we are when I say mixing, you know what I mean though, but like the characteristics will change as well. You can look at a human and say, oh, that is a black male. We can tell from these characteristics in the bones, but down the road, if the black male is mixing with a white person, an Asian person, you'll have these mixtures of
the parrot cichlid.
Yeah, exactly. And now you're like, I don't know I cannot tell you what it is, but I can tell you characteristics in it. Exactly. Totally. Yeah, the parrot, totally. Just like you had mentioned earlier.
Yeah, totally. Sure. Cool. I mean, nice. Like Casey, do you have any other questions for Ivan for now? Because we're coming up to the an hour.
I hope I'm not holding anybody up, but I did have a couple questions. I know how you got in into the hobby, but was there a time where you made that shift from going from the clear water, just enjoying the water, to wanting to photograph the fish and photograph those things? Was that part of your hobby, or did you? I know I'm rich, you discover discoveries, but I didn't know if there was a point in your life where you're like, I really like this, because you're obviously great at it.
Oh, thank you. No, it's all, I owe it all to Oliver. It's
Yeah,
just Oliver.
everyone I
Because
talked to knows Oliver.
I was all yeah, it's Oliver. It's Oliver is a very intelligent person, and
And
he
this is Oliver Lucanen. We're
Oliver
talking
Lucan
about.
is from Below Water.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Yes, the
Okay.
book. Let's do some advertising. The Amazon Below Water is his book.
Yeah, I have his book. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, yeah. Many of the pictures were taken in expeditions where I was part of. Exactly.
Wow.
That's amazing. Yeah, and the that book opens up to be, it's 60 centimeters by 60, so it opens up to 120 centimeters, so what, 3 foot wide or something like that. Mark,
Yeah.
it opens, that book
opens wide, right?
that is 60 centimeters by 60, so it opens up to
it's
a meter
it's a
20,
hefty
so
book.
it's like 3 foot wide when you open it.
3 foot wide? I don't. It's not.
Yeah,
When you open it,
It's pretty.
yeah,
look
it's
at that.
over a foot on each page.
It's over a foot on each page. So
Wow.
I was always a photographer. I was first a painter. I was used to paint, and then went into photography, and always exploring the ocean or the rivers. And then I met Oliver, and I'm like, why am I not doing what he does? Why am I not putting my camera inside the case? And it's one of those things where you don't put, it's so obvious, and you're so like, you can't believe you didn't put, one and one together to make two. It's so easy, but you have to see somebody doing it to say like, oh wow, really? I didn't do this before. Really?
It's like
Exactly, like
palming your forehead moment. Yeah.
totally.
But
So
probably,
when he did that, and when I saw him doing that, I said, okay, it was thanks to him. Totally owe it to him.
no,
You have to
that
give credit to who
yeah.
who deserves the credit.
Sure.
So it was his fault, and once it was his fault, and he also taught me how to do it, let's say, in an orderly fashion, because here in South America, things also get out of control. If you go out to a expedition, sometimes it winds up being a party, and not that serious. He showed me how, when I went out with him, a couple of times I went out with him, it was military style, and I probably brought it to a little bit more, even waking up at 4, instead of 5:30, like he did. But it was totally because of him, and that, I learned how to do things more orderly, I guess, because he's the person, he's the master.
How'd you meet him?
I met him. He was making his book. He was getting images for that book. And he asked me, hey, listen, can you take me on expeditions, to take the pictures? And I said, yes, of course. And I took him once or twice, 2 or 3 times. And it was awesome. Yeah,
Nice.
one was a very long one, was like 15 or 20 days. And we went even with George Fear. And I remember I was in my truck, and they rented a Fiat Uno, which is a really small little car. And they were behind my truck. I can't believe the places where they got that thing into. When they gave back that car and the rent a car, they had to like probably wash it for, like take all the rugs out and wash them, because it was probably wet in there for the 15 days since they got it. Because you get to a clear river and you start putting your wetsuit, and then you get in, you photograph, you get out, you take your wetsuit on, put the, dry clothes, and then 5 minutes down the road, there's another one. you know. And then
Yeah.
5 minutes early. So the third time you say, okay, I'm sitting in my cold, my wet thing, and then the car is wet for 15 days.
It's got some mildew.
Totally. Oh, it's like, yeah. And
Is there
it was what
is there
Oh,
is there any
music.
particular reason that you guys like need to put on the wetsuit? Is it like because some water are I mean like the water aren't cold or anything, right?
no, but it's colder than you. Remember, we're mammals. 30.
Yeah.
How much is
Wait,
it?
like
27
how,
degrees Celsius.
what's the
And
temperature like? It's in the mid 70s, no?
the thing is that water
It's
kind of drains your
slowly.
heat really
Yeah.
quickly.
Even slowly,
And in the
it
river,
creeps up on you.
it's even worse in the river where you have that windshield factor because it's flowing. The faster the river goes, the colder you get quicker. And the if you're in that water 27 or 26 degrees Celsius in 2 or 3 hours, you're hypothermic already here
Wow.
in the Amazon. You're in 2 or 3 hours in the water. You are trembling so bad that you can't take a picture or a video.
Really? I
But
see.
so it's gotten to the point where it's such you get bored of putting your wetsuit and taking your wetsuit off that you start just using your pants and your shirt, and you start trying to control the way you shiver. And after so many days of trying to control your shivering, you practically start controlling this shivering.
Hmm.
And then you say, okay, I'm going to shiver a lot. You shiver for 30 seconds and then you stop. And then you photograph for a minute or two or three. And then okay, I'm going to shiver again. And you shiver.
Whoa.
And it's really cool because after, years of doing that, and you start doing things that you never would have done before. Who would control shivering like that,
I can imagine it's hard to keep weight on with it because when you shiver, you burn a lot of calories and you're going through these rivers. It could be, you might have an extra calling. You could have a diet, like one of those diet programs where they just come on expedition for you, handle all your gear, and maybe people can lose weight. From a lot of
Totally.
American tourists can come out
Totally.
there.
Totally. I was 85 kilos all my life. And now that I started writing books and going less on expeditions, I put on so much weight of being like sitting in the office chair,
Yeah.
writing the books.
Yeah,
And it's all
even just the trip that I had, I did. I lost like 15 pounds
That's
it's
wild.
amazing.
over the what, like seven? No, yeah, like almost 7 days. I mean, like we ran out of food by day 5. That's a big reason of it, but too. But I mean, like it's just the
Yeah,
stuff that you can eat. Is just very limited.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't think we ever ran out of food in our expeditions. We ate bad, but we always had food.
Yeah, we had
And
to we have to go buy smoked fish from the indigenous.
Didn't you say they're catching discus and stuff too?
Didn't
No.
see any discus, but then I mean, like the part of the river where we're at, there's no discus. But then like we ate caiman tail. Then that was actually not bad.
we used to take a lot of
Like all
canned
kinds of
tuna,
stuff,
and
like
stuff like that.
portulatas, like, peacock bass. Peacock bass is pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We never ate practically anything from the area. The indigenous people would be catching the tetras with their shirts and trying to eat those. But we always
Tetris?
the tetras, yeah, the whatever,
Really?
the small
Like
tetras, yeah.
they eat that?
Yeah, they under the waterfall, where the waters, they put in their shirts, their t-shirts, and then they fill up like a bucket, and then they start making a Tetris stew,
Still.
with Tetris
Wow.
stew, and
Wow.
but it disintegrates,
Right.
But we made sure we had a lot of canned tuna that came with peas and whatever corn. So we'd buy 50 of those, and you'd get bored of it after one day, you don't want to eat it anymore, but we always had food.
Yeah, you get hungry
It
enough
was horrible.
after the
And
shivering.
cornflakes and Oreos. We had all that stuff that doesn't weigh much like that, and it's dry, corn, frosted flakes, sorry.
Yeah.
but you could see it in the fish guys. We're always eating canned tuna. It's like cat food. Horrible. Yeah.
That's a weight loss
Nice way
program.
to have fun.
Yeah.
I was totally lean back in the day when I was not in the office chair writing the books.
How many trips do you go on now?
Not many. I do, for example, I'm doing the Flora of the Orinoco book right now.
Yeah.
It's over almost 700 pages. And I'm going to do an expedition I go to the US August, June, July, August. I'll go in September. And with that, I'll finish the book. I'm going to do a big, long trip in September and finish the book. So the book won't be out until probably February, March next year. Just because I'm waiting for that trip.
Where's the trip going to be going to?
I'm going to go to the flooded savannas in the Apura State. There's a place that is like a aquatic garden, natural, of course. And I want to take some. I have old pictures that have with the point and shoot. You know, where the flowers are white and they just look like a white blotch, because back in the day it was 5 megapixels and the white was just like a white blotch. So I have to go and take them again so they're not book worthy to make it, you know, like I want it to go like, I want people to open that book and be like, wow, I want to go out and, you know, buy myself a camera and go and photograph, you know, I want to inspire people and make it really nice. Which is, I think my work also is not, is at the level where people can think they can do it themselves too. And probably that inspires people, I guess. I'm not sure.
No, it inspires. It inspires for sure. But like someone like me who's, I guess, very amateur, like you're saying, when you're doing these things all along and not realizing, like, until you see someone else do it, and then you like, I'm realizing I'm doing something and everyone loved it. Like everyone, when I would post it online, people were like, that is so beautiful. Like the thing that I go and do all the time for fun is what people like to see. So I try to get more, but then I see someone like Chris or your work and I was like, God.
Chris Lukap. Is that who you're talking?
Yeah, Chris Lukap.
Yeah. He's another level.
Yeah, but same
thing.
But
he said the same thing. Like you, like he's exactly the same thing. Like he said, it's not me, it's the place.
You know who got me into seeing that thing? That, oh man, I have to step it up. It was there's a website called Deep Green Photography, and the person's called Greg Basco, and he lives in Costa Rica somewhere, and he takes pictures of birds and reptiles and stuff. But once I entered this website and I started looking around, I'm like, oh my God, I have to do something because I'm way down here, you know, I'm way down, and you know, I have to step it up. And that's the guy that made me step it up. But every time you see Chris Lukap's videos, man, they're crystal clear. I don't know what camera we blame the camera instead of it's probably him, you know, he puts it in the correct setting, you know, to get it perfect.
So check it out. Like we did the podcast, like he's our the first guest of the podcast. We went into it like, you know, with the same question, like what's your gear, like, you know, like how come you're
it has to be something so really amazing. Cool.
Guess what, he's exactly like you.
Cell phone. You just don't tell him like he's just cell phone.
I don't use any
drop
special
everything
gear.
and stop working.
Yeah, he's got both. He said he does do it, but DSLR camera, right?
Yeah, he has a DSLR, but I mean, like the settings, just like he just used auto.
Yeah, he says he doesn't even mess with the setting at all. He's just like doing it auto. And
you know what? I've never met him in person, but if someday I met him in person and he like tells me, I do that with cell phone, I'm gonna stop working. I'm gonna quit.
I think he does do cell phones, but then I mean, obviously, you know, it's like he also uses DSLRs.
Corey from Aquarium Co-op. I can't remember Corey's last name right now, but he talked about how that happened, where he was out there and Corey showed up with just his phone, and he was like, "Yeah, I didn't even think about just using my phone too." So I don't know how much he does it compared to his nice camera, but
yeah, Corey. I've never met her in person either. I always asked him if I think I once emailed him if to do an interview together, to do something together, and he never got back to me. I believe he doesn't do his social media because he didn't
I'm
answer.
so busy.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like one in a million, you know.
I know. It's
But anyway,
wild.
it's nice that you know, when you do something and people find it, you know, that the colleagues say, oh, man, it's good, then you know you're doing things well.
Yeah.
That's really
I
cool.
mean, even you, that's what I'm saying. We knew that we had a legend when you were in black and white right here on the camera. That's how they photograph you. That'll be right here. It's like
I
your
need to buy better
autobiography.
gear. I need better hardware.
No, no, you figured it out still. You still made it
Yeah.
work. There's probably a sponge underneath your webcam right now.
You don't want to see my setup.
No.
Oh man. But anyways, it was, man, I really appreciate you. This awesome being here.
Yeah.
No problem, man. We really appreciate your time, and you know, like I mean, the stories you tell is super cool, and like the work that you do is super cool. I like so before we go, can you share like, you know, where can people find you? Where can people see your work and like how to get the books? Definitely get the books. They're amazing. I have one, like I actually just
Yeah.
um gift give that copy to a client of mine. And yeah, because you know he's into, like, I want him to be even more into his aquarium, right? And he's keeping all the South American fish, and then like I presented the book to him as a birthday gift. And then I showed him, like, because we have some corridors in the aquarium, and then I was like flipping to that page, right, where, like, you know, you have the exact same quarry like in the like natural habitat. It was super cool.
Yeah. But the detail of all those little things that live, all the algae, you know, the perphyte and all that, those rocks with little bubbles. It's just amazing. Nature is so amazing, right?
So amazing.
So,
Yeah,
well,
so
people can
where
find
can we
me.
find
My last name is Mikolji, and it's such a rare last name that I've been able to get all the social media just with my last name.
Nice.
So it's Mikolji. So that's on YouTube, on everything is just at Mikolji, on Facebook, Instagram,
On
everything.
theme. It's in black and white also.
The what?
Yeah,
The
I was like,
logo,
yeah,
your
it's
logo.
the logos in
Oh
black
yeah,
and
the
white
logo.
also.
Yeah.
Very
But that
befitting.
has another connotation from a long time ago where printers were black and white, you know, so it didn't have any, it wasn't digital, so it was more to have everything black and white standardized. But now I could probably put it into color soon because everything is digital.
Cool. All right. Thanks so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It was amazing talking with you, Ivan. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark and Casey.
Cool. All right. Thanks, guys. So yeah, let's I mean, I'm just
Is
gonna
it still recording? I don't
It's
see it
still
recording.
Yeah,
It's
we're
it's
still
still recording,
recording.
but I'm
Can't
just
say anything
Thank
gonna
bad
God.
yet.
Oh yeah, it says recording. Thank
I'm
God.
just gonna stop when we end, basically, because who knows, you
Yeah.
know, maybe another interesting point will come up. Yeah. But yeah, it's fun. I mean, like, we're gonna try to record up to like maybe 6 episodes before we start publishing, just because we can have, you know, like a consistent publishing date.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yes, if we'll take all your social media too. I think we could do that in post
Yeah,
when we
like
do
show
the episode.
notes.
We can put that in the post too. And I'd like to buy a book from you too. It's amazing.
Yeah, you
Awesome.
should.
Thank you.
You know, I always had this question though. So you know how, like, I was promoting a book, and then you know, like, my company even contributed, right? But then the thing is, like, I always wonder why, because I the book was set to launch, and then I promoted the, like, you know, on my stories and whatever, I promote the heck out of it. And then I'm sure some my followers bought it at, you know, like right after it launched, right? But maybe like 3 weeks after it launched, you made it available for like what, like a huge discount, like a 30% discount or something. Like, that's within maybe like a month after the book launched. Like
We did
what happened?
it started since the beginning. It started $80.
Yeah.
It was I never managed the sales of the book, but they did. It was my sister, and it started with the 80%, it was $80 with the shipping included. And we had to stop that also because of Brexit.
Gotcha.
Brexit hit us very hard.
Huh.
Because once the UK got out of the European, we had to pay all the import taxes everywhere. It was we didn't lose money, but we didn't make any money on that book.
Wow.
So the discount was because the Brexit?
It surely was before or something, I guess, because when it started, it always started at 80.
Because
it was always it never went under $80. Never, ever.
So like, yeah, because I was pretty confused because like right after, like, yeah, definitely within a month. I'm not too sure like how long before the discount, but it's like very soon after the launch that like it was a big discount too. It was like 20 or 30% if I remember correctly. And then I was just so confused. I'm like, okay, so I just convinced all my followers to buy it. Like I launched it at full price, and all of a sudden, like, right,
I don't
so
think it was
soon,
ever in full price. I don't think it was ever in full price at the beginning, ever.
I don't know like about the full price, but then it was like you know, like there wasn't a discount. Like when it was just newly launched, there wasn't any discounts, right? And then
we were
yeah.
we were new at everything.
I was gonna say,
we were so
up.
new. It was so many, everything was so, listen, even the publishing, we published it ourselves, and it says that we published it with independent publishers, which was not even the case. So many things because I'm in Venezuela, my sister was in Florida, was published in the UK.
Oh,
I never saw the book. I never saw the book until 4 months after.
Why like Brexit would have any? Okay, so
yeah, because it was printed in the UK. It was a moment where everything I put on social media. Hey, we're trying to make a book. Is there any designers that we know here in our followers? And what is his name? Jesus. Okay, the one that designed it came from the UK. He's like, yes, I work in a designing company and publishes, and I can know the fish, so I can go to the printing and see if the color of the cardinal tetra is cardinal tetra. And we're like, okay, cool, because I can't be there. So, and then we said, okay, and who can do who's going to test the editing? And the guy from PFK, Jeremy Gay, came out, the ex from PFK. I'll do it. And then everything turned out to be in the UK for some weird reason. So everything came out there, and I didn't get to see the book until 4 months after. I didn't even see it.
Wow. Okay.
And we didn't know what we were doing practically. We all those are book mock-ups. We never took a picture of the book. They were all Photoshop mock-ups done by what's his name? Josh Pickett. Josh Pickett did everything. So it was a miracle that we didn't go bankrupt, actually.
Got it.
We still have like 100 books left. We're not going to do any more, so there's only like 100 books left, and they're all in Europe because it was such a big problem. They're still in the UK.
Wow.
So I'm guessing not that route this time, huh?
So no, now what I'm going to do is right now I'm going to go in the summer to I'm going to be in Plymouth, Massachusetts, and I'm going to go to a Barnes and Nobles, and I'm going to sit there for 1 or 2 days going through all the books and the publishers to see which one looks good and is made in the US. Because I don't want to print it in China. Because then you really have no control about anything. If it looks, if the cardinal tetra looks purple. Or,
you know what? I might have some resources over there because I mean, like, there's a lot of hobbyists out there, and then I can ask around for you.
Okay, so if there's a person, so if there's a person that can look after it, you know.
Yeah.
But if I do it in the US, I know that it's going to be really easy. If it's in California, there's somebody there, like you guys.
There's actually a lot of publishers out there in China that do like publications for fish, fish aquarium hobby. So
Well, I didn't know about that, but I was going to sit in Barnes
the,
and Noble to see
and
which
your
one in the
costs
U.S.,
down
and
dramatically.
and use one of those, and so that's what I was going to do. But if I see one that is really well made from China, I'll write the editor too. I'll write the name of the company and see if I have to go to China in November because
Or CIPS? Wait, no, is that in November?
no, for the other one, the new one.
Oh, there's a new one.
Yeah, the new one because the old one takes Heiko.
Oh, right, sure, yeah, got it. Okay.
So Heiko takes most of them all. He gets invited everywhere. He's the thing is that Heiko is done the whole planet.
Yeah. Yeah.
That it's that he's so knowledgeable that I'm from the Orinoco, and that's it. That's the work is my work and his is different, but he's done all the planets, so that's why he probably gets invited to so many cool places to go.
Right, yeah. I think so. Yeah, but both of you do amazing work. I mean, it's just
yeah, well, yeah, he does the whole planet, It's really cool. My work is totally different than his.
You
you can't even compare it.
Do you see yourself go like still going at it at his age? Because like he's 78 now.
It's incredible. I can't believe it. I'm like, wow. It's inspirational in that way to me. To see his social media and be like, wow, he's still going, and then he gets back the next day and he's riding his bike.
He's built different, I feel like.
Yeah, but my work is stationary. It's one creek for 15 days.
Sure.
And then go back 3 or 4 times to the same creek for 15 days, and then 15 days in the same creek. It's totally different.
That's why you are able to produce these amazing photography, right? Photographs instead of because I mean, like Heiko doesn't do that. I mean, like his interest is not there either, but then it's also the time restraint, like the access.
Yeah, it's a different type of exploring. For example, Carlos Lasso, when he does his books, he has pictures from 30 photographers.
Sure.
It's a cooperation between many photographers.
Yeah.
Oliver's book probably has no other than Oliver's.
Sure.
My books, there's 2 or 3 or 4 photographers of the pictures of me taking the pictures.
I see.
So it's the time and effort put into each picture it's totally different compared to it's a different job completely, totally.
Yeah.
It's different.
Cool. All right, man. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I will definitely let you know when the episode publishes. And I think when are we aiming to publish? Like maybe in the summer. So coming up, like
I'll be in Plymouth in the summer. I'll be from June 16th of June to the 26th of July. I'll be swimming in the ponds underwater in Plymouth, Massachusetts.
Oh yeah? Okay.
Yeah, for a month and a half.
Okay,
you're
gonna photograph some native like North American species?
Totally. Also so cool. I have a lot of work from there. I have a house there. I own a house.
Oh, cool. Awesome.
So we spend the summers there.
Yeah, like all the Appalachia species.
Well, up there, it's all ponds, which is silica sand and water, like being in the Guyana Shield, freshwater sponges and all those, and the bryozoans, and it's really cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
Okay. Cool.
Awesome, man. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right.
Nice to see you.
Yeah, for sure.
It was amazing.
Thank you so much for listening to the show. If you have gotten this far, it was a long interview, but that was very eye-opening, wasn't it? If you enjoyed our conversation with Ivan, then you really like our next episode. We interviewed Thomas Minesi. He goes by Congo Nature Photography on Instagram. Some of you may already seen some of the footage that he took of the River Foix, and it's just insanely beautiful. So I hope you join us next time on Aqua Naturalists.